Good morning, Americans. This is your favorite alien speaking on Tuesday, May 28th. Me and Bubba here. Well, Bubba's waiting for his Blue Jay again. He had fun with him yesterday. Chirp and bark and chirp and bark. Right, Bub? I don't know what they were talking, but they must have been discussing the political situation, I guess. But anyway, I hope you guys liked my Reflection Memorial Day video yesterday. And remember I told you that there was always politics on Memorial Day? Eh, why do they have to have that? Well, your illustrious senator, Lindsey Graham. If he weren't a Republican, I would have to call him Dum Dum, but he doesn't qualify. Only the Democrats do. But he has definitely got watermelons for brains. Senator Graham, where in the heck is your brains at? I don't get you. Well, he said, quote, "We must invade Venezuela." Invade Venezuela? What kind of cockapook is that? And I'm from Panama, next door neighbor, and I can tell you what kind of mess you'll get if you invade Venezuela. Venezuela is a disaster. It's always been a disaster. And you guys caused it, mostly. Give you a hint, Senator Graham. You remember back in the 1950s, your Vice President, Richard Nixon, Tricky Dicky, went over to Venezuela on a state visit. And the guy in power was a guy named Marcos Perez Jimenez. It was a military junta that ruled Venezuela from 52 to 58 when he got thrown out. Well, Venezuela has always been ruled by things like that, usually right wing. That's why you loved them, and that's why you hate Maduro and Hugo Chavez, because they're left wing. That's the first time in Venezuela that's happened. But anyway, I'll get to that later. Back to the 1950s. You remember what happened to President Tricky Dicky, or Vice President? Didn't he almost get killed? And you looked at him and he had battered and bloody and all kinds of fun stuff. You understand why the Venezuelans hated him so much? You guys wanted oil, and you had already put up the Shah of Iran back up, which cost you problems later on, same as Venezuela is costing you problems later on. It's all you guys is making, and you don't get it, do you? I'm from Panama. I can tell you that because Venezuela is our next door neighbor, and I know exactly how they are. There was never a stable democracy there. You try to treat Venezuela as you did Panama. And Senator Graham, to give you an example here, Venezuela was the remark by Secretary of State John Quincy Adams, then Secretary of State under James Monroe, who developed the Monroe Doctrine of 1823, and then again in 1901 and 02 with the Theodore Roosevelt corollary to the Monroe Doctrine. Remember that? But you must remember that Venezuela has always been a stepchild of Colombia. And they two don't like each other. They hate each other with a passion. Big time. You never understood that. I don't know why. But anyway, Americans, and especially Senator Graham here. In the 1950s, U.S. wanted oil. And they needed companies like Exxon and Mobil to get there and they started Aramco over there in Iran in the 50s. And they wanted to do the same thing in Venezuela. Well, the Jimenez regime, or Perez Jimenez regime, did a lot of stabilizing of the economy, but it went one way. And this is where Ronald Reagan tried to get his trickle-down economics. But except that it didn't trickle down to the public. It stopped at Jimenez's feet. That's why he got thrown out in 58. And he went out a rich man. But be that as it may, it caused a rift between the Americans and the Venezuelans, which got steadily worse. In the 1960s, Venezuelan economy was down in the doldrums, and they came back up only because of the oil embargo of 1973, where the Americans needed oil, big time. Thus, Citgo, Citgo, Citgo. Remember that? You see it all the time in the American stations. That's a Venezuelan company. Citgo. Anyway, so Venezuelan economy started to perk up under the administration of Carlos Andres Perez, who was a corrupt guy, but he tried to do good for the people in the 70s, but he was corrupt in the 90s when he became president again. In fact, the second administration, he got charged under corruption, and he almost got deposed by Hugo Chavez. Yeah. Hugo Chavez got charged, threatened to prison, and then he got, like President Trump does, pardoned in 1994, allow him to run for president in 99, and the rest, as you know, is history. So, Senator Graham, why do you want to invade Venezuela? Number one, you're going to irk the Colombians because they got a unstable border with Venezuela who's caused little clashes here and there and a war, big war. So what are you going to do about that unstable border? And the Colombians hate you because, number one, you're trying to take another possession that they view as theirs, Venezuela. You already took Panama from them. So see, this is what I'm saying, Senator Graham. Think before you talk, will ya? This is your favorite alien saying, come on, Americans, you need somebody better than that, Republican or Democrat. Thanks.